So I wanted to, first of all, show you this glorious, beautiful scenery out here. What a beautiful day. Boats have been whizzing by all afternoon. We'll see if any come by that I could show you. Anyway, I'm coming on live today because I want to do a kind of a public service announcement about dieting. So I am a self-confessed um, I've always had problems with food. What do you call that? Binge eating, anorexia, bulimia, you name it. I've tried it. I've tried it all as diet advice. And, that's not good diet advice, certainly. It's bad to binge eat. It's bad to not eat at all, unless you're fasting. And that is what I want to talk about. I think that Americans have been horribly, horribly misled by the diet industry. And the reason why I decided to do this show today is because I was reminded how many years ago I thought that if I was really going to be serious about losing weight, I would have to spend a lot of money. And, I've come to now understand that the diet industry is one of the biggest scams there is. So people nowadays are all talking about this semaglutide, which goes under many different brand names. Anyway, it's all semaglutide to me. Anyway, people are saying that's the new diet thing. But, really, if you take drugs and you take things that aren't natural when you're trying to lose weight, you're actually hurting yourself in the long run, especially the semaglutide phase. And I'm not going to mention all the brand names. You know what I'm talking about. And people are injecting this stuff. You need to understand that you will change your relationship. Oh, look, there's the water taxi. You will change your relationship with food forever if you do that. If you take those pills, if you take those injections, and also if you take pills and different things that are supposed to help you lose weight. There is really only one tried and true and actually God sanctioned way to lose weight, and that's fasting. Fasting is in the Bible. Fasting is in every major religion that there is, and it's not being promoted as a weight loss situation, but it is being promoted as something for your health and your spirituality when it comes to religion. However, it is also really good for you when it comes to your body, your life, your longevity. Now, I've done a lot of research about this because, I have problems with food. And my mother was very overweight. No, she was obese. And before she got cancer and died, I think her top weight might have been 400 pounds. That's a lot. And she was pretty tall, but not 400 pounds tall. Anyway, I watched her struggle her entire life with her weight, and she passed down her problems with food onto me. So my problems with food are all psychological. I'm not supposed to be a big fat girl. I'm a little girl. I'm 5'4.5" at the most. I don't know if I'm still have that half an inch that I used to have, but you get older and you kind of shrink. But I am 4'4" or 5'4.5", and when I'm at a good weight, I'm between 118 and 130. Those are my best weights, like where I like to hover around 127. Now lately I've been having a little bit too much fun. I have not been a good girl and I gained about 10 pounds, but it happens, and I know a lot of it's water weight, but I'll tell you, when you do have some extra weight, the very best way to get rid of it is to fast. So here's something that I learned very recently that kind of blows my mind, but it's a game changer. So the word carbohydrate, right? Carbohydrate. So with every carbohydrate, there's a certain amount of water attached to every carb that you eat. And I can't tell you how much it is right now. I read it somewhere. It's like an ounce. I don't know. I don't know how much it is. Anyway, it's enough that if you don't eat carbs, you lose water weight. And that's why when you go on a diet where you're not eating carbohydrates or not eating anything, you will definitely lose weight. It'll be water weight, but you will lose weight. And sometimes that weight makes a huge difference because, it makes you feel bloated and you are bloated. So it's always a good idea to start your diet with get the water weight off. Okay, now I'm going to read you some of my research that I think really makes me angry. Actually, it makes me angry for my mother because I feel like she was tricked by the diet industry. And she went to all of the Weight Watchers, you name it, she tried it, and nothing ever worked for her. Even getting diabetes level 2 or whatever that is, the adult onset diabetes. Even that still didn't help her to lose weight. Never eating sugar because she still ate sugar. I didn't know about that until after she died, and my sister and I found a drawer full of candy. I mean, we're talking hardcore candy like circus peanuts. Anybody a fan out there of circus peanuts? Man, I love those things. But they're so bad for you. I mean, we're just talking about mainlining sugar. So anyway, here's some of my research I'm going to let you know about. Back in the 1950s and 60s, when my mom was a teenager, Minnesota physiologist Ancel Keys tricked American physicians into telling everyone that eating butter and eggs would kill us. And you're right, Dorothy. I like what RFK Jr. is saying too, because he's telling the truth. And that's the reason that I actually moved to Switzerland when I left this country in 1990 because of the food. So I put my money where my mouth is for real and made sure that my children were born in Switzerland, which was a country back then, all the food seemed like it was fresh. I think not so much anymore. Probably better than America, but by the way, high fructose corn syrup is illegal in every country except for America. Did you know that? You shouldn't eat it. Okay, so anyway, prior to the 1960s, fat-laden foods like butter, eggs, bacon, and cheese and beef were staples of the traditional American diet. And then good old Ancel Keys, PhD, he made the cover of Time magazine on January 13th, 1961. This is 4 years before I was born, and that started the change of everything. According to Keys, such saturated fats were the cause of clogged arteries. He recommended that Americans replace saturated fat with polyunsaturated vegetable oils rich in linoleic acid. And within a matter of years, along with tons of tubs of Crisco, obesity and chronic disease became part of our lives here in America. How, may you ask, Crisco is connected to this horrible crime against humanity? I call it a crime against humanity because seriously, it has ruined Americans' lives, and now it's bled into the rest of the world, where people all over the world are eating like Americans, and they are getting fat, and they're getting diabetic, adult onset diabetic. Children are overweight. Children were never overweight. When I was a child, there was like one overweight kid in the class, and that's because they had a glandular problem. Nowadays, most of the children are overweight, it seems. Maybe not most of them, but a lot of them, a ridiculous amount of them. So in 2016, medical investigator Christopher E. Ramsden of the NIH published an article called Reevaluation of the Traditional Diet Heart Hypothesis, Analysis of Recovered Data from Minnesota Coronary Experiment. This is from 1968 to 1973. His study implicates Keys in what may be the biggest cover-up of important health data ever committed in American history, according to drkate.com. The process of hydrogenation, an inexpensive way to turn liquid oils semi-solid, was invented in the early 1900s by a German chemist named Wilhelm Norman. In the early 1900s, the recent invention of the light bulb led soap and candle manufacturers William Procter and James Gamble to seek an alternative purpose for something they were producing in abundance: cottonseed oil. Cottonseed oil. Wait, I know you guys need to see the pretty scenery while I talk to you about this horrible injustice. Cottonseed oil, indeed. Nobody should ever eat cottonseed oil. So anyway, with the help of two German chemists, Procter and Gamble learned how to use the process of hydrogenation to turn the liquid cottonseed oil into a substance that looked and tasted like lard. In 1911, Crisco, which Crisco, by the way, stands for crystallized cottonseed oil, made its first appearance on store shelves. In the 1980s, health activists actually promoted oils containing trans fats. That's what happened. They considered these oils to be a healthy alternative to the saturated fats found in palm oil, coconut oil, or beef fat. And in 1986, for instance, the Center for Science and the Public Interest described Burger King's switch to partially hydrogenated oils as a great boon to Americans' arteries. Quite the opposite was true, and Americans started to clog their arteries, seemingly on purpose. Now, David Schleifer, a scholar at Columbia University Center on Medicine as a Profession, lays out the story in the January issue of the journal Technology and Culture. According to Schleifer, pressure from these activists was crucial in persuading fast food chains to drop palm oil or beef fat in favor of partially hydrogenated soybean oil. So, from the frying pan and into the fire we went. In the mid-1990s, CSPI and other health activists changed their tune as scientific studies turned up evidence that trans fats increased artery clogging forms of cholesterol. In 1924, the American Heart Association was formed, and in 1948, thanks to the being the beneficiary of the Procter and Gamble sponsored Walking Man radio contest, the American Heart Association went national with a $1.75 million windfall. A national fund-raising campaign in 1949 netted another $2.7 million, and the AHA never looked back. The process produced what are now called trans fats, making this product extremely versatile in the kitchen, even if nobody actually knew whether we should be shoving this former toxic waste into our mouths. It made pastry flakier. It could be used for frying. It could be used for baking. Was it healthy? Nobody knew. But since this newfangled semi-solid fat resembled food, the decision was made to market it as food. They called this revolutionary new product Crisco. Again, crystallized cottonseed oil. It was never food. Crisco was skillfully marketed as a cheaper alternative to lard. And then in 1911, Procter & Gamble launched a brilliant campaign to put Crisco into every American household. They produced a recipe book, all of which used Crisco, of course, and gave it away for free. This was unheard of at the time. Advertisements of that era were also proclaimed that Crisco was easier to digest, cheaper, and healthier due to its plant origins. Yeah, are you going to eat paper because it's made of trees? You know, just saying. Oh, by the way, you do eat paper. I don't know if you knew that. You are eating the cellulose as paper. Just saying. Just look at the labels. Cotton seeds were essentially garbage, but they didn't tell anybody that. Like toxic waste kind of garbage. But that didn't matter. Over the next 3 decades, Crisco and other cottonseed oils dominated the kitchens of America, displacing lard. The American Heart Association, a private company funded by Procter and Gamble. Did you hear that? The American Heart Association was a private company funded by Procter and Gamble. Sorry, I just had to say that twice. So they jumped on board, and then in 1977, the government joined the crusade and published its first dietary goals for the United States, which advocated increased carb intake and decreased fat intake for heart health. The first government publication regarding diet risk factors. All right, well, I'm going to stop here. There's a lot more to this story, but I just wanted to start a kind of a series on weight loss and why it's very important to stay away from fake food, to stay away from processed food. And these days, you even have to be careful. So it's like horrible how I miss this every time I come. God, it's nice. Every time, what was I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, so, oh, I know what I was thinking about. So the fact that even when you're in the grocery store, you have to be careful because the vegetables are being sprayed with something that looks like water, but it's not water. It's something that Bill Gates made called a peel. So ask your grocer, do you use a peel? And if your grocer says yes, stop buying your fresh vegetables from the grocer. Just saying. You might want to start dealing with your local farmers and yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Kathy. I wish that it was easy to eat. It's not. It's no longer easy to eat, and everything is tainted in some way. But, that's why we really have to get back to growing our own food. But anyway, I find it preferable to eat nothing rather than to eat garbage. Oh, your grocer lied. That's great. Terrible, terrible. And tell everybody that your grocer lied to you. Because if he's lying about that, he's lying about a bunch of other things too that's in your food. Anyway, that's why I find it sometimes preferable to not eat at all. And that's why I fast. And fasting feels really good. And yes, it's hard to go the first 24 hours are probably the hardest of not eating. Maybe day 2. Day 2 could be a problem. But by day 3, you're feeling pretty good. And then you can eat again if you do just a 36-hour fast. It doesn't have to be more than that. Or you fast every day. Publix. Man. Wow, Kathy, I'd like to know more about that story. Anyway, I'm going to say ciao for now. I know I hate giving you the bad news that all the food that we eat is tainted and horrible for us, but I mean, there are ways to get around it, and we'll talk about that too, but you do want to really stay away from the food that comes in the packaging. Just packaging. Right there, it's bad. Read all your labels. And consider not eating for a while. It's not going to kill you. And you know what they say, if it makes you stronger, if it doesn't kill you. Anyway, just look it up in the Bible. God makes the Jews fast every single year on Yom Kippur for 24 hours, and you can't even drink water. That's a dry fast. That's hardcore, but it's a real thing. Farm eggs are good for you, Kathy. And yes, Linda, bioengineering is the downfall of American civilization. What I see. Anyway, we'll talk about this another time. I just wanted to whet your appetite for this subject because it means a lot. And Joe, fasting isn't bad. Fasting is good, and it feels good. You can sometimes you eat too much, and you don't feel good when you eat too much. But when you don't eat anything, you start to feel, I say, refreshed and clean. And yes, there's a hunger that you got to contend with. But guess what? Hunger goes away. It does. Just think about something else. Do something else. And your hunger will disappear. Like magic. It is. It's magical. Because our bodies are magical. And God didn't give us anything that we can't take care of. And we don't need pills to make ourselves feel better. And you definitely don't need semaglutide to make yourself thin. You can do that by just shut it. Shut your mouth. Stop eating all that food. And here's the thing too, if you do decide to take the semaglutide, if you decide to get those injections, you do have to realize you won't be able to eat because you're gonna feel sick, super, super sick. This is not a replay, Darla, it's live. Anyway, taking semaglutide, it will change your relationship with food and possibly forever. So, but fasting doesn't do that. Fasting changes your relationship with food in a way that it actually makes you excited to eat instead of something that you do every day, every 3 hours. It's something that you do maybe every 24 hours, maybe every 16 hours. Maybe you wait 36 hours and then that meal that you have is so flippin' delicious. You can't believe it. And you can't eat that much either because your stomach has shrunk. There's so many reasons to fast. I can't even possibly go through them right now, but I can tell you that you don't need drugs and you don't need to spend money. So, and that's the reason why I'm talking about this today, because I did get this, not an advertisement, but this lady that she was like my coach when I was on something called Optavia. Don't take it. Don't spend any money on it. She's like, you can save $200 if you sign up for more food today or something like that. It's like really, first of all, the food that they have you eat, it's all processed, like big time processed. And it costs a lot of money and you simply don't need it. But it is Optavia, I gotta say, that got me into fasting because on Optavia, I believe there was like 1 or 2 fasting days and I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I was like, well, I'm not paying for this crap anymore. And I was done with it. I never spent money ever again on dieting. And I've gone up and down with my diet. And I'll tell you one thing that makes me fat, men. My husband, oh, God rest his soul, but before he passed away, I gained 30 pounds after getting married to him. And the day he died, I began to lose 30 pounds. So just saying. Joe, that's a shame that your brother takes Ozempic and it's not even working for him. Tell him to stop it, please. Tell him to try fasting, seriously. And, or you do it yourself for him as an example. I'll leave you guys with one last story about fasting. So when I was working on my book and I needed so badly to learn this computer program in order to publish everything by myself. And so I went over to my friend Karen's house. And when I was at Karen's, her and her husband told me that they were planning on taking the phone call. I said, please don't do that. I said, I would like you to try fasting first. And I told them how great a 3-day fast could be for them and how it could, change their life and, they're going to feel so much better. And they're like, immediately they go, okay. And they just dive into a 3-day fast. Now, nobody should ever do that. That's a lot. That's hard. Fasting is a practice. You have to practice it. You start with 12 hours, then you go to 16, then you get up to 24, and you just, get yourself comfortable with fasting. But my 2 friends, they were like, oh no, we're doing this, and you're doing it too. So the 3 of us fasted for 3 days. Well, Karen taught me the computer program. I finished my book for the most part at that point. And it was a wonderful, wonderful weekend for the 3 of us. And those guys each lost 10 pounds. I don't know how much I lost, but it was great. It was really great. And they did it. And now they are like all into fasting. And they have not taken the semaglutide. So anyway, that's right, Margaret. It's the oldest and best proven way to get your body back to its right health. So true. I'm going to end it now with that wonderful statement Margaret Williams just said to me. I don't know. I think you guys cannot see the comments when the show isn't live anymore, when it's a replay. But anyway, hello, replay people. Sweating should help you lose weight, but your body is going to hold on to that weight if you're still eating carbohydrates. Just saying, carbohydrates keep you hydrated. It's a real thing. All right, you guys, teach your body how to burn fat. Teach your body how to get its fuel from your dang fat. I'm sure you got plenty of. I'm not saying you're fat. I'm fat, you know. I mean, we all have plenty of fat to burn, right? All right, you guys. I'm gonna say ciao for now, and arrivederci.